Working language will be English. Despite this, feel free to send us your questions also in Spanish through the chat. We would like to start the conference with a few opening words from authorities. I introduce Mr. Felipe Puig, General Manager of the Chamber of Commerce and Services of Uruguay. Felipe, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Felipe, ¿me
Felipe.
escuchás? ¿Nos escuchan? Paola, tú que estás ahí, ¿nos estás escuchando? ¿No?
Sí, se escucha perfecto.
Ah, no sé por qué Felipe. Bueno. Okay. Esperen un segundito.
Sorry,
We wait a minute.
we will wait just a minute because we are having a connection problem, I think. Felipe,
Estás en
are you
silencio.
listening?
Estás en silencio, Felipe.
Ahora sí. Ahora sí estamos. ¿Me escuchás, Ana?
Sí, sí, perfecto.
Dale, pues. Ana. Well, good morning for those of you here in Uruguay, and good afternoon for those in Georgia. Sorry about this delay, this technical problem, but we are online now. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and Services in Uruguay, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this working meeting, which was organized together with the Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Embassy of Georgia in Buenos Aires. First of all, I would like to greet the authorities that are joining us today. Mrs. Magda Bolotashvili, Deputy Director General of the Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Ambassador Beraldo Nicola, which is the Director of Intelligence, Commercial Promotion and Investments of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Uruguay. Mr. Gigi Sedelashvili, Head of the Division for Latin America and the Caribbean region of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Georgia. Mr. Nicolas Chedeshvili, Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of Georgia in Buenos Aires. And finally, Mr. Luis Augusto Faropa, which is the Honorary Consul of Georgia in Uruguay. I would also like to greet the speakers that will be presenting today. Mrs. Nutza Genti, Investor Relations Manager of Enterprise Georgia, and Mrs. Paola Leites, which is Project Manager for Investment Promotion and Aftercare Department of Uruguay-21. And also, finally, greet all the Georgian and Uruguayan businessmen which are attending today, who have expressed their interest in exploring commercial opportunities between both countries, chasing the target of doing business and thus increasing bilateral trade. We all know that the world is going through hard and complex times that leads nations and companies to face new challenges in their international business and operation. It's in this context that it is necessary for Uruguay and its businessmen to work hard for the strengthening of the current commercial relations, but also to identify new business opportunities in different countries in order to diversify the goods and services that are offered and acquired in the world. Our chamber, especially our International Trade Department, has frequent and close dialogue with Georgian representatives in Argentina and in Uruguay, always with the aim of making the commercial ties between both business communities stronger in terms of goods, services, and investments in sectors that has great potential in each country. In this sense, last year we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Today, this joint work and cooperation materialized through this event, which will focus on aspects such as business, diversification, bilateral trade, commercial challenges, among others. We hope this is the first of many instances organized together. Finally, I would like to congratulate the work teams for accomplishing this webinar. I have no doubt that this will be a fruitful and interesting event for all of us. The International Trade Department of our chamber remains at your entire disposal for any issue, requests, and queries you may have. Thank you all.
Thanks, Felipe. Now we will listen to Mrs. Magda Volotashvili, Deputy Director General of the Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mrs. Volotashvili, thank you for your cooperation to this conference. The floor is yours.
Thanks. Does my voice heard? Well heard?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Dear distinguished guests and speakers, it is my privilege and pleasure to address you on this very special occasion on behalf of Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are delighted to have the opportunity to be co-organizers of this very important event with the Uruguayan Chamber of Commerce and Services and Ministry of Foreign Affairs of both countries. This webinar aims to promote trade economic relations and business cooperation between Uruguayan and Georgian enterprises. Our countries are located far away from each other, which appears one of the obstacles to enhance our trade relations. But despite of this fact, our country's business community putting their effort to trade with each other and cooperate in the following economic fields like iron and steel manufacturing, or dairy and meat production, pharmaceutical, and etc. Today, you will have a chance to establish working liaisons with Georgian companies and get more information about Georgian business climate and investment opportunities. I strongly believe that expanding relations between our two countries through business, investment, trade, and innovation, based on respect and mutual understanding, will grow and further strengthen our national economies, as well as trade economic ties. Yes, and as it was mentioned, we are on your disposal anytime, and wish you all a very fruitful session. And thank you, and hopefully our ties will become, as I mentioned previously, more active, and we will have much more opportunities in future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mrs. Volotashvili. Next, we will listen to Mr. Ambassador Beraldo Nicola, Director of Intelligence and Commercial Promotion and Investments of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Uruguay. Mr. Ambassador, we would like to thank our Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the support and for joining us today. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Respected participants in this webinar, dear friends from Georgia and Uruguay, good morning and good evening. It is with great interest that we are joining this video conference today. The Direction of Business Intelligence, Trade Promotion and Investment of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Uruguay is giving its full support to these and similar initiatives that seek the growth of our bilateral trade. 1 year ago, in August 2021, the Uruguayan Foreign Minister Francisco Bustillo paid an official visit to Georgia and met in Tbilisi with government authorities, showing our commitment to the improvement of our relationship. It was noted then that despite the geographical distance, there are many similarities between Georgia and Uruguay, including common values and interests, which creates a significant potential for further development of our friendship and cooperation. The Georgian Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, David Salkaliani, thanked Minister Bustillo then for the visit, noting that Uruguay is a strong supporter of and a good friend of Georgia in the Latin American region. Progress has been made in recent years in terms of deepening the cooperation between our countries, and now we are ready to improve even more our economic and bilateral trade. As we can see, the governments are doing their part, and now the private sector is also becoming active, bringing new ideas and initiatives like this webinar, which will surely contribute to the growth of our trade and economic relations. For this, I would like to congratulate our friends in the Chamber of Commerce and Services of Uruguay, the Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Embassy of Georgia in Argentina, Uruguay 21, and the other participants in this webinar for their initiative and contributions. We are all looking forward to learning more about the opportunities that increasing trade and more diverse and dynamic business may bring to both our countries for our mutual benefits. We will listen with great interest to the presentations, and I'm sure that this will be a very useful and productive session for all the participants. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Ambassador. Now we will give the space to Mr. Gibi Sedelashvili, Head of Division for the Latin American and the Caribbean region of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Georgia. Mr. Sedelashvili, thanks for the support. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon or good morning to our colleagues in Uruguay. First of all, I wanted to thank both the participating organizers as well as the embassies and the chambers of commerce. Thank you for finding the time for this engagement, especially for our South American colleagues where it's still an early morning. I'm certain that this call will serve as a good restarting point to further advance our economic trade and not only economic and trade relations. Throughout the years, Georgia and Uruguay have managed to establish extremely friendly political ties despite the noticeable geographic distance, and frequent high-level visits that we have witnessed in just the last couple of years is only a good evidence of that close relations. Minister Bustillo's visit that was noted earlier, just last year in August, and his great initiative regarding the wide trade agreement is a perfect starting point for many future cooperations that we can serve and we can facilitate throughout our agencies in different manner. We hope relevant agencies will soon be able to take the next steps in that direction and finalize this cooperation in the near future. At last, I wanted to, I cannot leave this audience without showing our huge gratitude to Uruguay's unwavering but pioneering support to Georgia's IDP resolution throughout the years. And it's been a huge contributor to the rapidly growing support, and our diverse cooperation and strong political and economic relations will only serve to further advance our cooperation and strengthen our ties. Thank you once again.
Thanks, Mr. Sedelashvili. Finally, we will listen to Mr. Nicholas Gegechidze, Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of Georgia in Buenos Aires.
Sorry. Dear participants, dear colleagues, it is also for me a great pleasure to participate in the first virtual meeting, the webinar between the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Georgia and the Chamber of Commerce and Services of Uruguay. So I will not repeat what my colleague Divizitaciuli has already mentioned about our relations, the bilateral relations between Georgia and Uruguay, which always have been based on friendship and mutual respect. Indeed, we have witnessed a great progress in various areas of our bilateral cooperation, meaning the bilateral high-level visits since 2018, like the visit of the Minister Zalcaliani, Foreign Minister Zalcaliani to Uruguay in March 2019. Before that was the visit of the Minister of Agriculture of Georgia to Uruguay. And last year, a very important visit, official visit of Minister Bustilio to Georgia. Besides, also another highlight of our relations was the inauguration of the office of the honorary consul in Montevideo in July last year, headed by our dear friend Luis Frapola, and I'm glad to see him at this webinar among the participants. Also, another important component of our relations is the interparliamentary cooperation. In the parliaments of both countries, we have established friendship groups, and we do hope that also the cooperation in this area will further deepen. But what really matters nowadays is the promotion of the bilateral trade and economic ties between our countries. And the low volume in trade, despite the figures of constant growth, remains a common challenge for both parties. Therefore, we hope that the memorandum signed last year between the two chambers of commerce and this webinar will be a positive prerequisite and will stimulate our future relations in the field of economy and bilateral trade. Finally, I wish you this webinar to be a very fruitful and successful event for both sides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nico. Now moving on to the main part of our conference, we will start with the speakers who will be presenting us potential that exists between our countries and the commercial opportunities available in each market for Georgian and Uruguayan companies and businessmen. In this regard, we introduce Ms. Nutza Genti, Investor Relations Manager of Enterprise Georgia. The Uruguayan business community is eager to listen what Georgia has to offer that we know is really interesting. Thank you for joining us today. Feel free to share the screen if you need.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting to us. I'm very glad to participate in this event and introduce new investment opportunities and business climate of Georgia. So right now, I would like to share my screen, and please confirm if you see the presentation. Just a moment. Could you please confirm if you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Georgia is a small country, but it has strategic location between Europe and Asia. It is one of the easiest countries to do business in the world. According to the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business record, we rank 7th in the world. Also, at the same time, we are the 3rd least tax burden country in the world. The country offers competitively priced, skilled and productive labor force. And also we have free trade agreements and have an access to 0.3 billion market population. So Georgia is a small country, but it has dynamic economy, and it has been growing steadily over the past years. At the bottom, you have to see the economic indicators. For example, FDI over the last 5 years was $3.5 billion USD, and in the middle you can see share of reinvestments, which is the 53%, and This means that investors not only coming in Georgia, but they are trusting and expanding their businesses further, and they have shown confidence towards the country's business climate. Georgia's dynamic economy, business-friendly climate has been recognized by the international organizations. For example, in OECD's FDI Regulatory Restrictiveness Index, Georgia ranks 8th in the world, and this means that our country is one of the least FDI restrictive country in the world, and we are very welcoming to the investors. At the same time, we rank #1 in a trace matrix, and this means that there is least need to interact with government from the private businesses side. Also, we are one of the safest country, and Georgia is also a very open European-minded country, and we have association agreement and DCFTA with European Union. As I already mentioned, according to the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business, we are one of the easiest country for the business, and they are highlighted some important factors and processes. We have competitive advantage compared to the OECD's high-income countries. For example, starting a business in Georgia takes only 1 day. Also, registering property takes only 1 day. And so it means that if you are operating in Georgia, you're going to saving time, you're going to saving paperwork, and same as for the getting construction permit, getting electricity and other procedures. We are investors having the efficiency in the processes and the operations. This slide showcases the Uruguay and Georgia economic relations, and this chart shows import and export of our countries. This is dynamically growing tendency, but as you see in 2019, it was declining because of the pandemic and some economic problems. But as we see, last 2 years, import from the Uruguay to Georgia, the numbers tripled, and there is a quite dynamic growth, and hope that this event will be a good starting point to expand our economic relationship and expand just the cooperation further. There is also Georgia's top 10 exporting products through the world. For example, copper, cars, fertilizers, wine, and etc. There's the top products. We have the exported the highest volume. As I said, Georgia is a small country, but it has a very strategic location as it is located between the Europe and Asia and have an access to the Middle East. And at the same time, we have the free trade agreements with the European Union, with the UK, with the China, with the EFTA countries, CIS countries, Turkey, Ukraine, etc. So it gives an access to to reach 2.3 billion market population without tariff-free access. And if you start operations in Georgia, you can access a huge market from the one country. And also, I would like to mention that 80% of the goods are free from import tariffs, and in Georgia we have simple and service-oriented customs policy and administration procedures. Dynamic economy, business-friendly environment are not enough to offer the advantages. Georgia offers also access to the young, skill, and competitively talent pool at a competitive rate. So you can see that we benchmark Georgia, and this chart showcases that we are quite competitive in, for example, average monthly salary for skilled production operator is very low. Also, average monthly salary in customer service, like the BPO, is also very competitive. Also, Georgia has a flexible labor code and no minimum wage regulation, and this means that employer and employees can negotiate independently regarding working agreement and conditions. So country offers a very competitively priced talent pool, which is backed up the high education institutions and knowledge provided by these organizations. For example, in Georgia, 64 higher education institutions and 66 WETs are operating. And this chart showcases that there is a quite diverse setup of the professions that these individuals and professionals choose to operate in, and they are really ready to work in different directions for different types of companies. Over the last 5 years, Georgia delivered 120 individuals from bachelor, master, or professional programs. There is also the country offers also competitive operational costs regarding electricity, industrial gas, and waters. For example, electricity for per kilowatt is only 8 cents, industrial gas for per cubic meter is 20 cents, and the water is per cubic meter also is 8 cents. So this is also quite competitive and ensures efficiency for the costs of operations. Also, 70% of the generation supply comes from renewables, and this means that our energy is not only cheap but also green. Investors can benefit from the most attractive tax system in Georgia. As I have already mentioned, we are the third least tax burden country in the world by the total tax rate, and this means that on the one hand, we have the business-oriented and simplified tax regime, and on the other hand, we have the 6 flat and one of the lowest taxes in the world. For example, if the company reinvests or retains profit, a corporate profit tax will be 0%. Personal income tax is 20%. At the same time, a value-added tax is 18%. Property tax is up to 1%. And 80% of the goods are free from import tariffs in Georgia. Also, there is not any social contribution tax and only pension contribution taxes, which is 2%, which is paid by the employer. In order to support foreign direct investments in Georgia, there are several incentives and supportive programs offered by the government. First of all, in Georgia, 4 free industrial zones are operating, and they offer additional tax benefits to the companies who are operating within these areas. Another state support program is subsidizing the loan interest rate and collateral guarantee co-financing. Also, we have provided FDI grant, which is for special sectors like the electronics, auto, aircraft, business process outsourcing, MRO, and logistics centers. And it works like the cashback. If the company invests any kind of investment volume, it can get back as a cashback 15% from the initial investment volume. Another tax incentive for the IT companies is international company status. If the company obtains this status, it can lower profit and personal income tax down to 5%. So to briefly overview what is the Enterprise Georgia. Enterprise Georgia is a main economic development agency which is operating under the Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development of Georgia. It consists of these 3 parts, including business development, export support, and investment attraction. So today I'm representing investment attraction. We are working like the one-stop shop and ensuring access to the government all levels, and we have the role of moderator between the government of Georgia and private sector. Thank you for your attention, and thanks for taking time to me. And I will be glad to answer all the questions at the end of this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Nutsa. Now is the turn of Uruguay-21, the agency responsible for promotion of exports and investment here in our country. I would like to introduce Ms. Paola Leites, project manager Investment Promotion and Aftercare Department of Uruguay 21. Paola, thanks for joining us today. You can share the screen.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to greet all the authorities and all the participants, and also thank the Chamber of Commerce for the invite to participate in this webinar. Today, I will share with you the business opportunities that Uruguay offers to the companies from Georgia. Now I will share my screen. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's start with why Uruguay stands out from the other countries. Uruguay is a reliable country, which is the finest gateway to Latin America. We have a favoring environment for investment with business-friendly regulation and high-skilled workers. During my presentation, I will focus on each of these points. Based on this value proposition, global companies choose Uruguay to install their regional corporate centers, activities of regional distribution centers, IT, finance, shared service centers, trading, agribusiness, manufacture, or renewable energies. And we have identified that international companies start with one of these areas and then add another ones. For example, they can start with a shared service center and then add a regional distribution center. Here we have some examples of companies that have their regional corporate centers in Uruguay. For example, MERD has a regional distribution center for LATAM in Uruguay, since Tierra del Fuego to Mexico. The chemical company BASF has a shared service center, and Syngenta develops trading activities from our country. The stability makes Uruguay a reliable country to invest. Let me prove it to you. Uruguay is positioned as one of the top countries in terms of reliability in the Latin American regions. This is the result of a long-term tradition of solid institutions, which is reflected on being the #1 in the democracy index, a prosperous country, and having the lowest perceptions in terms of corruption. To prove my point in terms of economic policies, since just 2009, Uruguay has recovered and continuously improved the investment grade according to the top rating agencies, namely Standard & Poor's, Fitch, Moody, amongst others. Uruguay also has the highest performance in the ESG factors according to JP Morgan. Now that we have seen what Uruguay stands for, let's take a look at the advantage that foreign companies have found in Uruguay as the finest gateway to Latin America. Doing business in Uruguay is easy. When you decide to invest in our country, you don't need a local partner. Most of the other countries do. Uruguay allows the establishment of 100% foreign companies, and their profit can be freely transferred overseas. But not only that, you can invest in the currency that you prefer. There is a single tax system at a national level. And most of all, you will be treated as equally as a local investor. Additionally, you can open a bank account in any currency, and you can also invoice in any currency from Uruguay. Besides all of this easiness for doing business, the government also provides several investment promotion regimes. Here you can see all the business platforms that I mentioned before and the different investment promotion regimes. One of the most important is the investment promotion law, which allows you to deduce from 30% to 100% of the investment amount through the exemption of the corporate income tax. Additionally, you can import all the machinery and equipment required free from duties. There are no national taxes when setting up your company in a free zone. You are only required to hire at least 75% of Uruguayan staff and 50% in case of services companies. And foreigners working in those areas could choose to contribute to Social Security here in Uruguay or in their country of or origin, and they can also choose to pay the non-resident income tax, which is a fixed rate of 12% instead of the resident income tax. When it comes to logistics, Uruguay provides the only free port in the South Atlantic coast and a world-class international airport, which is also the only free airport in South America. This consolidates Uruguay as a logistics hub per excellence, and for instance, 50% of the goods that are in this moment at the port are in transit. Given the country's locations, business history, language, and shared culture, Uruguay is an excellent platform to access countries such as Brazil and Spanish-speaking countries. It's worth mentioning that we are connected and very close to the main cities of the region, both for cargo and passenger transportation. The country's free zone, free airport are ideal places to set up distribution centers. And moreover, Uruguay's cultural affinity with Europe and North America, similar time zone, and excellent telecommunication infrastructure make the country an ideal nearshore location with those markets. Here you can see the trade potential between Uruguay and Georgia. And moving on, let me say that Uruguay is a country leader in communication in Latin America. We are first in Latin America in the internet penetration, adoption of IT, percentage of companies connected by optical fiber, and in fact, Google announced that they will install their data center here in our country. In Uruguay, you will also find skilled, competitive, and multilingual talent. If we see the general population, 55% speak English and 30% speak Portuguese. And if we focus on the technical and university students and graduates, 82% speak English and 43% speak Portuguese. It's easy to find people who speak Portuguese here in Uruguay because of the border that we have with Brazil. Uruguay has the highest literacy rate in Latin America, 98%, and the government provides free education to all levels. Finally, should you choose to live or visit Uruguay, you will enjoy the highest quality of life in Latin America. Uruguay 21 is the investment promotion agency of Uruguay. We help foreign companies to set up their business like here in our country. We can provide customized information. If a company from Georgia decides to come to Uruguay, we can help with the organization of the agenda, provide a linkage with public and private actors, among others. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thanks.
If I may, is it possible?
Yes, of course.
Sorry, Ms. Moraes, the presentation was really interesting. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to ask you whether it is possible to elaborate a bit more about the free port and the airport concept. I could not catch the main idea well. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Well, they are mainly used for distribution. You know, if a company, when the goods are within the port of free ports, they are free from duties. You will only pay duties when you export the good from Uruguay to the final destination. For example, AstraZeneca use the free airport regime, so they import all the goods from Europe, they storage here in the free airport, and then they sell to Brazil or Argentina from Uruguay.
Understood. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Paola, for the interesting presentation. And thanks, Nutza, as well. Now, officially, we want to open the floor to the audience. I think we have some questions from the registration form, but you can, open your microphone and leave us a question if you like. I have a question from the registration form. Maybe Enterprise Georgia or Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Georgia can answer. Question says, on which website or institution can Uruguayan businessmen search reliable providers from Georgia?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? What kind of website?
Yes, of course.
I did.
On which websites or institutions can Uruguayan businessmen search reliable providers from Georgia?
Okay, yeah. So we have the Enterprise Georgia has an export directions, and they have their own electronic portal to search the export partners. So I can share here this website in the chat, and also I'll give you my email address, and if someone has additional questions, please contact me.
Also, I would like to add not to comment that Georgian Chamber of Commerce and Industry can be, any company can use our sources as well. We are having up to 3,000 member companies. So when we get some kind of request from partner side, we are distributing this information via the database, and in case of interest from their side, we are helping them to have the communication with the possible partner. So you can use our network as well.
Okay, thank you both. There were also some companies interested in sectors like construction and tourism. Georgian company can contact us through the email address that we wrote on the chat. We can answer your questions, inform you about trade requirements and tariffs, and also put you in contact with Uruguayan companies as well from your sector or industry. Let's see if we have some questions from the audience.
No.
Okay, so in order to respect also the agreed times, this is the end of the webinar. Please note that we will share the recording and the presentations used today with all those who registered for the webinar. Audience, speakers, and authorities, thank you for joining us today. You have now our contact information, so as I said, feel free to send us any issue or any query you may have. The International Trade Department of the Chamber of Commerce and Services of Uruguay remain at your entire disposal. Thank you all, and see you on future events.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.